Okay, so here we push into turn 33, 1650 in Europa Universalis. A bit of a delay. Didn't get to play over the weekend for the most part because, well, I went dancing Saturday night and I've been recovering all through Sunday. So, this happens. Yeah, I'm still not up to snuff, but at least I'm not driven by shakes and fever any longer. Amazing what I do to myself there. All right. So, what did we get for the events? First of all, no kings died, but we have one interesting factor over here, which is we're going to have the Habsburg death this turn. I don't really have to worry about the ruler there, but I do have to roll a new death if they come into play. A lot of people are interested in the Holy Roman Emperor election this turn, so a lot of people may be involved in trying to bid and work on getting different positions in play there. So, for example, the Palatinate is under Spain's control. They still have the electorate. It never went to Bavaria in this world. So that gives them one along with Bohemia. So that's two electorates that they just have guaranteed locked in. Nobody can take them from them without budging the alliances. Elsewhere, seeing Cologne, France has that, so that's one locked against them. Prussia's got an electorate, again locked against them. So that's 4 of, I think, 7. So what else do we have that's still open? There's got to be. I don't remember what else we have. Oh yeah, they don't necessarily have so like Trier is one, and there's another religious one. I think. I'm trying to remember which one that is. Anyway, we have to see how the votes turn out, but those will go automatically for the Habsburgs if no one buys them away from them. And I got to look up the bidding rules and everything because everybody is very interested in this case, and I've kind of forgotten all about how to do that because nobody cared at any of the earlier ones enough. Other events we had. France had an exceptional year. Russia and Netherlands had plots at court, which gives them a diplomacy of 1 and a reduction to their survival chances for the king for next turn. Spain got a corruption. That's going to definitely hinder any thoughts of an attack on France right after the Fronde, which would have been a nice time to do it. But to tell you the truth, the Spanish army took a hit by going in here. The Dutch army isn't in any good shape. They're not ready for the war yet. And the French have 2 of their best leaders in the game sitting on the board at this point between Condé and Turin. So it may not be the best time to do it. Cardinal Infante's dead. There's just nothing to compare to them. The Dutch have someone who's so-so. But anyway. Other events. We got the election coming up. We've got Prussia annexed Berg. And now they have the special rights that that the Emperor has to be able to travel throughout Holy Roman Empire states if need be. So if Prussia goes to war with someone now, they can actually walk through any HRE territory that's unaligned and draw supply from it. Or through it at least. Let's see, Japan closed. Not a big deal because nobody's there yet. But had somebody been there, well, it would be limited to 1 trading post for the rest of the game. Now, I think you just can't enter. And Sweden and Poland have entered a war. Now, this one seems very different from in the Risto events. First of all, they're going to fight it. They actually have to fight the war out, and victory points will be assessed, etc. Now, England had both Sweden and Poland on their track. They can't keep them both in the war, so Poland ended up as a French-controlled state. England could have declared themselves in the war in favor of Sweden, but they're kind of busy right now, I think. So they're gonna, Sweden and Poland are gonna fight this out. This is without Gustavus. He's died last turn, so we've got a new king. We've still got a lot of the outstanding Swedish leaders from the 30 Years' War era, though. So maybe that'll help. And that's about it. Well, Saxony was the elector I forgot about. Anyway, everybody did have some interest. The Dutch were able to put forward a plan that France accepted. England wasn't terribly interested in it. If they had an elector, which they didn't have any of them, they would have been willing to throw in their weight with. But the election went to, the big arguments went, the Dutch went for Saxony, which they had almost no chance of with their one diplomacy. And that was something they kind of forgot about and ended up spending a little bit of money for. The French went to try to take the Palatinate and failed there because Spain had enough money to defend it. The only thing that really happened was the English grabbed the Swiss into subsidies for a very expensive amount of money, actually, and not a lot of gain there, looking to make the attack on France still. So right now we're looking at Spain currently has 2 electorates guaranteed. The ecclesiastical electorates could be swayed out of Spain, out of the Habsburgs' hands, but the Dutch aren't going to support a Catholic they aren't going to allow their Protestants to support a Catholic elector. So, and France would love that. England would be in favor of that. But the Dutch are not, and they're going to throw Prussia in favor of the Habsburgs instead. So now what we have is 3 electorates up for grabs potentially, and Cologne, which could nominate a Catholic at this point, other than the Habsburgs. I don't think that anyone has enough money to do this. Let me just look at what we've got sitting around. The English have about $30, so maybe they could get someone. The French have 60, so they could. The Spanish are out of money. Really, everyone else is out of the contention. So there's 3 electors who are unaligned. I think the English would be willing to throw in they're $30 if the French throw 60 in, and they'll go for electors each. France is certainly willing to do that. Basically, it's a matter of these countries have so much money that they can waste some of it. So let's see if the English can convince, and we'll decide who they're going to make emperor. It doesn't much matter. Let's see if the English can get, I think they need an 8 or higher. Basically, all these die rolls have to be 8 or higher. And they do not. And French do not get any. So basically, all the electors, except for the Palatinate, vote in favor of the Habsburgs. Another $100 or so was spent by England and France. There was no other diplomacy of any note, although maybe there should have been. The Turks, I think, want to go to war. Yeah, Turkey will declare war. Turkey's declaring war on the Mamluks. They have no reason not to. That drops them, I believe, 2, because for whatever reason they don't have a bonus against that, and they'll lose 10 victory points for that. Does anybody control the Mamluks? I don't think so. And that means they go to Spain, and we'll take care of setting them up as well. Yeah, because they definitely want to get a move there. So I was doing the beginning of the income phase. You roll for each product and see. I kind of cheat here. You're supposed to roll 1 die to see if it decreases, 1 die to see if it increases. I roll a single die. The hell with it, and handle it that way. And what happens is, if it's, say here, If I roll less than an 8, it's going to decrease by the indication here, which might be nothing or more. And if I roll greater than the right-hand side, it's going to increase. And if I roll in between the range, it does both, where both cover. Okay, great. But this is something kind of strange in the game. So when something hits 20 products, it flips over to another counter where the numbers change a little bit, but it continues on here. So for example, furs here cannot go down in price. So they actually jumped up, even though it's the most available product. There's something a little wanky about the whole economic system on the exotic resources that just strikes me kind of weird. There's something that doesn't work right with it, no matter how you play it. And that's one of the reasons I don't mind tinkering with it, is it didn't make sense anyway, so I might as well make it simpler and not make sense by only having to roll one die. All right. But it's obviously, not some kind of detailed, cleverly thought out design here, is all I guess I'm pointing out. And to expound on that a little bit, that's one of my problems with the whole game, is there's all these solutions to get this thing to work, to have these mechanisms in play to have it operate in some sort of way, but it doesn't feel like they really reflect reality very well. There's a lot of subsystems, the diplomatic subsystems, all the destabilization that affects everything with one die roll, things like that. And they just don't ring terribly true. I love this game, there's no question about that. But it's almost as though a lot of things were slapped together without the really intricate thought necessary to make them work. And it's one of the reasons that I say, I never could have designed this. I never could have made the compromises necessary to get something like this to the, yeah, okay, I can't design anything, but that's not the point. Anyway, it's just an interesting view. This was a game that when I saw it, I said, even if I had the fortitude and the willpower to go through designing a game, I could not have made this because of these compromises that weaken the overall effect. They're just too much. I can see some games, 18xx for example, that maybe I'm just not clever enough to have come up with, but that I can say, yeah, I could have made something like that, in the sense that I could see myself having accepted the design limitations that I come to. This one, though, it's just too chaotic and slapped together in a lot of ways. However you want to take that. We're moving into, I guess, the actual military phases very shortly, but you can see the Dutch expanding their California holdings, pushing forward there. English holdings, the French holdings, these are all becoming pretty solid colonies now. The Spanish and the Caribbean are, but elsewhere they're very weak, to the extent that those could be, they're all minus level colonies, so they can be taken pretty quickly with, there's only 5 conscripts at them. The plus level ones have 10 conscripts, except for the French who have veterans. Once they're level 6, though, they have a fortification on them, and you can see Massachusetts reached that. I forgot about it and didn't remove the fortification and been paying for it. See the English expanding up into Siam. Royalists were basically able to maintain their current forces. They hadn't lost much. Cromwell's built up a whole new army. He's going to slam it into them again. He really, doesn't have this ability to take them out. The Dutch built up their army. They actually started building a navy as well. They've been without one for a long time. I've got a... Oh no, they upgraded. No, I forgot to upgrade their shipping. The French built up a huge army. Spain wasn't able to because of the corruption. This can go away because nobody's playing in Habsburg land. The Mamluks got about as big an army as they can to face the Turks. It's probably not going to be enough, but we'll see. The Russians, preparing themselves, built up their army, looking at going after the steppes. And I don't remember what they have to take. I think it's actually part of the Cossack territories to get their bonus stuff. Now, historically they had it before Russia comes into the game, but because they don't have it, they can't do free exploration operations out here. They got to pay $10 for each, and their economy's so strapped for cash that they're just wrecked. This is one of the problems. If you don't start with the whole Russian starting location, you never do in the Grand Campaign for whatever reason. It just, the expansion that happened, you know, you're not a player, you have no control over it, but you're always going to get Russia in worse shape than it historically was at that point. And it's not like you'd be terribly affecting anyone else with there being no Poland player. It's just one of those, damn it, that's disturbing as hell. All right, let me check about the Dutch shipping. I don't think I placed that. And that's about it. There's always a bit of excitement in that first round. First of all, when the French saw the Dutch looking over here, they decided to send a ship over on their own. They have a naval leader who's got the little rest of the world symbol. You can barely see it there. That little kind of sunshine there. And they were able to move their conquistador over to Ternate, which is sort of the prime piece of real estate that they can do this with without an explorer. The Dutch sent likewise a little fleet over. They sent Peter Stuyvesant over into the Celebes. They've got an extra explorer there if they need it. Basically, it doesn't seem to me that they really want to expand their California holdings tremendously. I think they have one colony left that they can use in this era. They've got 4 on the board, so you know, why not improve the ones they have if that's the case. All right, over in Europe. Well, I thought Cromwell would do better against James, but he didn't. He lost his entire army, and now James is sieging London. The Royalist fleet is out here. Now Blake can come out and perhaps defeat it, but it'll certainly help the siege to have a fleet in place there. French rearranged their forces into a more of an anti-Spanish position, figuring the Dutch aren't really that big a threat, and also not really too interested in coping with the English anymore. It looks like the English are going to fall to the Royalists. We're fine. The longer that war lasts, the better it is. It's cool if we get our victory points as the French, but honestly, I'm not sure I want to win so much as just keep it running. Poles swept in and got booted back out. No big deal there. However, here things were a little more interesting. This is the kind of attrition warfare that's just great down here because of the huge cavalry. You see tremendous losses, even on moderate die rolls. Jamal Bey swept in with the entire main force of the Turkish army. Got it destroyed by the Caliph. Drove back. He's got like 1 army left. No pashas, nothing. The Mamluks took some significant damage, about half an army, a quarter of their force. So they reinforced it with their other units and marched in. And now they're down to an army, a single army. And they're facing 2 full Turkish armies plus some pashas, etc. It doesn't look good for them, but you know, they had to kind of try to hit a portion of the Turkish army on the attack, and they actually had the advantages on that. So, you know, you never can tell what's going to happen. Well, it's a mixed advantage because the Turks have the technological edge right now still. All right, well, onward. Sometimes this game can be real annoying. Turn ended on round 2. What happened? Well, the Dutch managed to do exactly what they want to do and spread out. The Russians are already done with what they wanted to do out here. So, you know, all the explorers are fine. But we got the Royalists here sieging London. They would have kind of liked to have taken it. The English are happy to be done with that. We got this Polish-Swedish situation. The Poles finally cracked the Swedish army. I mean, they didn't actually defeat it, but they wiped it down to almost nothing. And the French would have liked to have pushed forward with them here. The Turks, well, they wiped out the Mamluk army. Didn't open up a siege. They were going to move to Egypt. One thing they did do was they pushed the pirates out. The reason being, and whether or not Spain can use the knights diplomatically against Turkey is a questionable thing. I allow them to do it. the rules seem to imply that maybe the knights have to attack the Turkish shipping every time. Anyway, what the Spaniards said was, look, if you don't attack the French, I'm going to push mine out. Here's the deal. We're willing to make an alliance with you, whatever. We're willing to come in on your side. France cannot fight you, because if they go to war with you, they're going to have to face, the Dutch and Spanish as well. So the Turks, between those two incentives, were willing to push the fleets out. And now we'll see whether France can actually steamroll enough power. What I think they're going to do, and this is what they were planning at least, was a North African campaign. Try to position themselves, maybe grab Tunisia, and from there move against Algeria. That protects one of their fleets by getting those two territories under their control. And then swing down and working their way towards the Mamluk territories, as long as they're free to do so. The thing with these is, all of these North African countries have I'm trying to think what the word for it is. They have a political status where they're conquered, essentially. Now, you can lose them due to diplomatic instability. They can become mere vassals or allies or something, but you can actually conquer them and convert them into a state on your side of things, which is kind of a weird situation. There are a few countries you can do that with. Anything you can annex. Anyway, that's a different situation than most. Usually I don't like doing it because there is a chance of losing it once you do it. It's not like annexing something physically, like the little provinces that I've grabbed here, that from now on, those are, really mine. Here, these can be lost. Anyway, guess we go through the end of the turn crap. And we move into the 1655 turn. This is marked red, indicating it's the end of this era. At the end of this period, people have to make their victory conditions. They've been trying, more or less. They always do, but this is kind of a point where you focus a little harder, and especially in the solitaire game, it's easy to lose track of what you're trying to do with each country beyond sort of the, hey, it feels right to go colonize and this, that, and the other. So this is the time, or last turn really would have been, to look up and see, hey, how am I doing on those? So I'll put a little extra effort into that. But yeah, this was not a good turn for a lot of people, especially the active Turkey down there. They wanted to catch a break, get the Mamluks out of the way, be in a better position. We'll see what ends up happening. I doubt that France is going to start a war with Turkey anytime soon, just because, one, they have this overall plan, but also starting a war of any kind, really, on the last turn of a period can be kind of dangerous, because it can throw things into a destable situation where you actually get a lot less victory points. So they're going to think hard even before going to war with Tunisia, although that's pretty easy for them to do. I'll look around. It looks like I lost a admiral, which means good old Sordus is probably, since he's highly ranked, going to be recalled here. That would have been a good reason to bring this fleet back instead of leaving it there. I'm always kind of iffy about leaving fleets in the New World. Oh, we have someone new. We have Von Diemen, who can only be used in Asia. That's what that little @ symbol there means. And, that kind of makes things interesting. Maybe Stuyvesant will go for his last couple turns into the North America and try to help push the colonization, because I have a couple of people to work on the trading posts now down here. There's not a lot really to do left here. It looks like most of the not Polynesian, but Indonesian areas are falling at this point. So really now the question is, well, China and Japan have been closed already. So there isn't a lot left. There's, Korea, Kamchatka, which is very interesting. That would piss Russia off to no end if somebody started putting into there, because they really do want that. And we have the little Vietnam down here. There's still some stuff in India that's open. And then there's the African stuff, which von Diemen can't really do anything about. But yeah, the world's colonization levels have reached pretty much where they should be, or pretty much their limit. There's only a few areas left that are of value. Cuba, we still got some production there. Even if this colony goes up to a full level 6 colony, you can only export 3 of the 6 commodities there. Belem's open. Maybe a few other places that you can find and pick up. Acadia doesn't have its fish being exploited. Starting in 1700, we're going to see cotton become a commodity, and then Carolina becomes more valuable. It might be worth it anyway. It's not a bad place, just as an expansion. The problem is the French have a governor who they'd probably use for that, but they kind of want to do colonizations where he can live, which is only in the Louisiana area. So anyway, kind of a what do you grow, what do you not grow? Russians expanding quite far again. All right, well, we'll load this one up.